Welcome back to Walsall Fan TV. The Joy and the Pain podcast is also live and with us. Walsall's turbulent couple of weeks has got us all pondering on what's going to happen with Matt Sadler. But Saturday's opponents have had their own turmoil. I welcome Matt from Gills in the Blood.
How are you, mate? You good? I'm very well. Thanks for the invite. Well, very well. Battling on. Let's put it that way.
Battling on. We've got to try, haven't we? We've got to try. We have our challenges, and
absolutely.
We sort
one foot in front of the other, one day at a time.
We were just saying off air that living near the seaside, that's sort of nice to go and have a stroll and that sort of thing.
Absolutely, yeah. It's one of life's stress relievers. I've been very open in recent days for anyone that follows me regarding mental health. Well, if I've got one person, then fingers crossed I've done the right thing. So
well, that's right. It's always good to talk, isn't it? It's always good to talk and share your issues with other people. It helps to sort of get things moving along. Before we get on to the football, Gills in the Blood, that's going really well, isn't it? Your channel?
Yeah, it's been thriving for a while now. I mean, I've been doing it a long time. February 2017, I decided to set it up. So we've been going 6.5 years essentially, which is mad. And yeah, I've always said that all the time people want to subscribe and want to listen and want to watch. I'll keep doing it. I'll never outstay my welcome.
Yeah,
I do it because I love talking about football. I do it because I love talking about Gillingham Football Club in the way that you love talking about Walsall Football Club, and the way that any fan who supports their own club up and down the land wants to talk about it. And yeah, it's been great since the Gallinsons came in 10 months ago now, pretty much, and that's flown by in terms of improvements on and off the pitch. And yeah, in turn, better performances and better results certainly means that people are more inclined to tune in and watch, because nobody wants to listen to me rabbit on about a defeat every single week and every single Tuesday. And yeah, it's going really well. We're well on the way to 3,000 subscribers, which I still find absolutely staggering. It's just me essentially moaning into a phone or moaning on Zoom most of the time. So yeah, the support's been unreal.
It gives people that connection, I think.
That's probably one of the main reasons I done it, was for people that couldn't get to games, certainly with the match day live, that if we can try and bring the game into their living room, then we're doing a little bit. And I think one good thing that came out of COVID was like these types of things, StreamYard and Zoom and Teams and all that, because it meant that we went and found opposition fans to talk to, and it snowballed from there. And we've had a lot of good responses to. We used to do a match preview show and it was just two Gills fans, so you're only getting one side of the story, and doing it this way is much better. And then I used to do the what I used to call the Monday review on my own. We changed it to a match day review. We added another Gills fan, and now we had an opposition fan as well to get both sides of the coin, and that's been really well received as well. So yeah, like I say, all the while people keep watching, I'll keep churning out content as best I can.
Yeah, it's good. I think for me, I've done a little bit on the channel before, but it was really over COVID when we couldn't get to the games.
Yeah.
I sort of wanted to make it a bit more interesting for my lad. Because just watching on iFollow, it's sort of
boring when it was so bad.
Not the greatest. And we've had some great times with that. And the amount of people, I'm sure you've had the same, the amount of people sort of saying how we helped them through COVID by providing that content.
I think so, yeah. A lot of people. We had a Mansfield fan on our match day review show a couple of weeks ago, and he said that COVID helped, but obviously it also made you realise how bad it was having to watch games on an iPad or a laptop and not being able to go to the ground and experience it properly. So I think there's been some positives to come out of COVID. You know, not many at all, but I think a few.
With Walsall, similar to Gillingham, really, before the Gallisons joined you, it was a lot of pain, wasn't it?
It was. The former owner, Paul Scally, still there in the background as a minority shareholder. I was fine with that when the Gallinsons first come in, obviously not coming from England. They needed somewhere that knew the English game. Whether he still needs to be there now, I'm not so sure. But he'd certainly run his course in terms of being the owner and he come out and admitted and said that he couldn't finance the football club anymore on his own. It's not a game where you can do it just as a one-man band, essentially.
No,
But
it's difficult, isn't
the Gallinsons have been a breath of fresh air. And, of course, the news that came last week was the first really big / contentious decision that they've made. Obviously, as outsiders looking in, everyone thought, blimey, they're 8th in the table. Like, they're only 4 points off top at the time. And now
I did think that. I think I messaged you, didn't I? It was like a bit of a shock.
I thought the same as well, like because you're putting so much pressure on whoever comes in and takes over now, because essentially they've got to be in the playoffs or above to be deemed an upgrade and deemed a success. All right, the football was functional, I suppose we'll call it, at best at times, and we didn't score enough goals, but we lost in the week to Portsmouth. I know it's much changed teams and that type of thing, and we had loads of kids, but we never conceded 4 or more in a game under Neil Harris in 20 months. And so,
and the thing is, Neil Harris,
getting the balance right with everything, isn't it?
Yeah, Neil Harris is an excellent manager.
Mm-hmm. And he will be an excellent manager.
Yeah. And we'd take him at Walsall in a heartbeat.
He's available.
You are.
He's available.
He's available. Well, that's it. Walsall, at the end of the last season, things had gone wrong with Mike Flynn. It was strange how fans change, really, because there was still a lot of fans in support of Mike Flynn when he'd only won 1 in 22.
That was against us, I think, wasn't it?
And that's amazing. And now with Walsall, we've had the best start we've had for 5 years since we've been in League Two. And a defeat, albeit a very bad one, away to Sutton. And people are Sadler needs to go, because he was seen as the cheap option when other managers were sort of touting for it. But Graham Alexander, who was in the running for the job, who ultimately ended up at MK.
And they want him out.
MK fans want him out. So that wasn't such a great idea, was he?
We're very fickle, aren't we? As football fans, we are. We all are. So
well, I think with Walsall, if Walsall win the next 2 or 3 games, then everything's rosy, and he's a great young manager developing.
That's it. And it's still early on in the season. 2 wins can jump you up, I don't know, 8, 10 places at the moment. You've only got to look at Stockport. Everyone thought they were poor at the start of the season. They won 6 on the bounce, and suddenly they're second. It's
when we beat Stockport, it really did feel like sort of we'd caught them at the right time. They're a very good team, and I think they are definitely going to be up there.
I backed them to win the league, and we beat them opening day. So again, we caught them at the right time as well. I think there was a bit of a hangover from the playoffs, and they had no Carl Wootton, who's just returned as well. So I think they're just.
Is he back now, Kyle Wootton? Yeah, he's a good player.
Came back at the weekend off the bench. Yeah, so they're going to be even stronger than. And I think they've still got 3 or 4 to come back from injury as well, which is the frightening thing.
Will Collar's a really good player for them as well, isn't he?
Yeah, and they've still got. I think Hippolyte's just come back. I think they've still got Carl Noyle to come back. They've got. Callum Camps has just returned, so they're going to go from strength to strength, and I still back them to win the league. Yeah,
it's a very tough division this year, isn't it?
Yeah, I know. You can be 8th and sack your manager.
And then poor old Mark Hughes, he came to League Two thinking it was going to be a stroll in the park, and he gets himself fired.
Yeah, I think that was probably more on the cards, given the fan base and the nature of the expectation, I think, at Bradford. But yeah, I mean, they wasn't having an awful season. Like you've said, a couple of wins and suddenly you're back up and around the playoff places.
And it's still early doors, isn't it?
It is, we're only a quarter of a way through the season, essentially.
I think Mike Flynn last season for Walsall was unlucky. He had some bad injuries. And right now with Walsall, we started off the season looking very positive. Chris Hussey, that we picked up from Stockport. We were playing 3 at the back. He was left-sided centre-back. 10 weeks into his new contract, he retired. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a tough one to take, like you say, because you bring a player in to try and find a way to play a certain system, certain style, and then you have to rip it up and start again, which must be frustrating, especially if it's outside the window. And
then for him to announce that pretty much the day after the transfer window closed, it's like taking the mick.
Not ideal timing, is it? Yeah, you don't need at least have done it midway through the window to give people a chance to be replaced. But
it has come out that he's sort of applied for a job in the PFA and that sort of stuff, and it is connected with that. But it's still
doesn't help you though, does it?
No, it doesn't help us. And the timing of it, of course, is terrible. On the right sided centre back, Priestley Farquharson, the priest is far easier to say, that we picked up from Newport. He's looked very impressive, but he had an injury. He come back and he's got injured again. So like,
he was one I'd have liked us to look at when I did like a list of potential targets in the summer. I thought he was very good at Newport. I think he scored against us. He scored both their goals when they beat us at Rodney Parade. I mean, we were awful then. That was before the takeover. But yeah, he certainly looked the part in terms of a modern day centre half. He's big, he's athletic, he's a threat in opposition boxes, and he does what he does defensively as well. Yeah. So no, I thought that was a really good upgrade for yourselves, and Hussey as well at the time. Obviously didn't know that unfortunately he was going to retire a month or two later. But yeah, it certainly I thought made you stronger. I was quite surprised that Manny Month got a move up to League One to be. He went to Northampton, didn't he?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, we could do with him back now. Yeah.
Well, because I rated the other two higher, so I was quite surprised that he managed to get a move up a division. But fair play to him.
Yeah, I'm not sure how well he's doing with Northampton, but I liked him. He's very strong.
Mm-hmm.
He was prone to mistakes, but he could play out from the back. And it's not very often people went past him because he just didn't let them past. Physically, didn't let them past.
Oh yeah, he's a unit physically. I just thought that the two that coming in were better, but you know, it's easy for me to say I'm only looking at certain games and highlights and twice a season. You Sadler's fans obviously watch him all the time.
I think the problem Walsall have got now, Donovan Daniels is a great centre half, but we've got no experience because of the injuries and with Hussey going. We've got no experience in the back line at all in what is a very young team. Harry Williams has been playing the last couple of games. He's played about 50 senior games, but all but about 7 of them have been for Alfchurch.
So it's a big step up, isn't it? Yeah.
And he wasn't expected to be playing, but obviously with the way things have happened, he's been thrown in. And then O'Sheen McKenty had played some games in Motherwell, which is still not quite the same. But I mean, he's only at 50 senior appearances at the start of the season. So we've tried to convert him into a midfielder. And there's several arguments over that, whether that's working or not. But it looks like he's back in the defence for the minute. But I mean, there's just no experience there. The fullback, Joe Folks, he's 20, I think. He's just gone 20. He started off at right back, and they were trying to play him as right wing back. But I mean, he'd had 2 years playing as right back. He wasn't really ready to play as a wing back. And then you got Joe Riley, who's a 26-year-old, but he's only played about 90 games. Which
it's a risk, isn't it? I said similar to like Crawley. You sound very similar to them when we spoke about them earlier in the season. It's all well and good when it's going well if you've got a load of youngsters that are coming up from non-league and there's potential. I get that in terms of ability and sell-on fees, which clubs of our size always need. But the risk is then if it does go wrong and you start having a rough trot, where is the leadership to pull them through that rough trot?
Yeah, but that's the problem, I think.
But you've been consistently inconsistent, unfortunately, haven't you, this season? You've had some really good results, and then, like you say, you turn in a performance at bottom of the league and get absolutely walloped, and 4-0 before half-time as well, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was 4-0. The thing is for Walsall, and now this is a reminder for anybody who's going to the game from a Gillingham perspective, Walsall are doing well to keep a goal out in the first quarter of an hour. We keep conceding really early. And
I think we've scored early in our last... Certainly in our last 2 home games, we didn't score at Crewe. Yeah, but I think the last 2 home games we've scored inside, I think the first 20 minutes. We got one after a couple of minutes against Mansfield. And then I think, we was in front inside 20 minutes against MK Dons last weekend as well. So it'd be interesting. But our away form's dropped off slightly. I think after 3 wins to start the season, we've now got 3 consecutive defeats, albeit we should have probably got something out of at least a couple of them. Crewe, we missed 3 absolute sitters that would have completely changed the game. Doncaster, we missed a hatful of chances as well. Grimsby, we were absolutely awful, deserved to get beat off at absolutely nothing. So, be interesting. I think I know it's a cliche, but I think the first goal could be massive at the weekend. If you get it, obviously the crowd gets up and the confidence comes back. Like when we came to your place last season, you was in the middle of a poor run and we managed to roll over and concede twice, didn't we, to lose? But yeah, I think if we get it and can quieten the crowd, it could make for a difficult afternoon for the home team. But
and for Matt Stadler as well, I think if Walsall lose heavily on Saturday, I think there'll be quite a lot of dissent towards the manager. But he's a young manager. I say young manager, he's like 36. He's had lots of experience of football. It's not like he's sort of just coming into it and he's only 22. He's been in and around the game, in and around coaching for a long time. So he should be a bit smarter, really. Against Sutton, he looked shell-shocked, really, and didn't make any changes until half-time when the game was already finished.
Yeah, it's done then, isn't it? I think no amount of changes are going to, unfortunately, alter the course of the game. But I suppose the only positive is that you managed to keep a clean sheet second half if you're really looking for the silver lining.
But I can't imagine that Sutton were bothered, really, when they're already 4 up.
Oh, not at all. And they're going to play within themselves, aren't they, and put the handbrake on because they know, as barring making ridiculous mistakes on 4 occasions, they're going to win comfortably, and that's what happens.
Yeah.
So.
But I say Walsall's biggest challenge is trying not to concede in the first quarter of an hour, which is the tricky one. Who do we need to watch out for? I think Ashley Naderson is a player that's doing well for you. He's a good quality, experienced striker.
Started really well when he came in, 3 in his first 3 games. Scored the winner against Sutton and Accrington, and also got the first as we put Southampton out of the cup. But I'm pretty sure he's going to be unavailable. Unfortunately, rolled his ankle against MK Dons last Saturday, and had to be withdrawn after 15 minutes, which ultimately turned out all right because Macaulay Bonne came on and immediately scored. So I don't think Naderson will play, unfortunately. I think we saw him after the game as he come out of the ground. He said it looked like a couple of weeks, so I can't see him being available.
Got you. That's quite a big loss for you then.
In terms of his pace, and his tireless running up front, I think it will be a miss. But I've said plenty of times, I think Macaulay Bonne's our most natural penalty box striker, and he's just starting to show signs that he's getting there. He was miles behind in terms of fitness because he signed late in the window, but he's got 2 in his last 3. He's missed quite a few chances as well, but he's now sticking them away. Tom Nichols is starting to get there again in terms of what you get from
Tom Nichols, Yeah,
not an out and out. He's never going to score you loads, but he's got assists in the last 2 games. He set up the second goal Saturday. He set up Johnny Williams in the week against Portsmouth in the Papa John's defeat. So I think it'll probably be, I'd imagine it'd be like a 4. I call it a 4-4-1.5, whereas Thomas sort of almost do that sort of half 9, half 10 role. So I think it'll probably be him and Macaulay. We're still missing Ollie Hawkins. We've not seen him all season. We've got Tim Dieng out with a knee problem.
Is Lapsley playing for you?
Lapsley, we're hoping is available. He had a hamstring problem a few weeks ago. He then came back against Mansfield, was very good. No, who did he play against? Morecambe, was very good for half hour, scored, had to come back off. Played at Crewe last Tuesday, got taken off, was feeling it again. So he's missed the last couple, but Keith Millen said that hopefully he should be fit for Saturday, whether that's from the start or I'd imagine it'll probably be from the bench. So we've got a few in key areas missing. We've also got, we've got Che Alexander, our first choice right back's unavailable this weekend. He's away on international duty with St. Lucia, I think. So he's sunning himself somewhere in the Caribbean and playing football. So we've got, and then Scott Malone, who's been very good since arriving in the summer. He's suspended, unfortunately. So I think it'll be Max Clark at left back. But I mean, if Macaulay Bonne will be a threat if we can get service to him. Tom Nichols, everyone knows what he's like in terms of being a link player. Connor Mahoney's probably been the standout for us over recent weeks. We got him on loan from Huddersfield. Just needed to play games and fall in love with the game again because I think he played about 20 games in 2 or 3 years. But he's been superb. I think he scored a goal. He's got 4 assists since arriving. He's been spot on, and he's probably the closest that we've got to an old school winger, one that hugged the touchlines, good with both feet, good with set piece delivery, So I'd probably say him.
Is he left side or right side?
Can play either. I think he's predominantly started on the right in games, but it's been a case where him and the other side will switch throughout the game. So he'd be one to keep an eye on. I'd say he's probably the closest to the player that can turn a game on its head in a single moment. So for me, if you had to give me, I had to give you one player to watch out for, it'd be Connor Mahoney.
What number's Mahoney?
23.
Number 23.
Mm-hmm.
We'll have to have a look for him. If he's playing on the right side, that could be an interesting one. Our regular left back, Liam Gordon, he's off on international duty as well. He's playing for Guyana. So he's going to be a miss. We've got Taylor Allen. He's playing there. He likes to get forward. Whether he's good enough defensively is, I suppose we'll find out tomorrow. He started off as a striker in his career, went to left winger, and then to left wing back, then to left back, and more recently he's been playing left centre back. So we're wondering when he's going to get a goal.
Sounds like how my Sunday League career went.
Yeah. So up front for Walsall, Danny Johnson is the strange one. He scored 15 in 30 for us last season before Mansfield pulled him back. He was on loan. We signed him in the close season, and he started the pre-season well and the first couple of games, and then he's been taken out of the team. His fitness seems to perhaps be a bit of a question. So I don't know whether there's something going on behind the scenes, but he's our most prolific goal scorer and he's our most natural goal scorer, and he's not been playing him.
So he's not scored since August, has he? I don't think. But yeah, been in and out the side, which is somewhat surprising because I looked at that one in the summer and thought, "Cool, yeah, that's a really good addition." Like we knew how good you were with him the first half of last season, and then form completely dropped off the side of a cliff without him. Could have been coincidence, but I don't think it was.
No, it wasn't.
Very interesting one from an outsider's perspective to see that he's not getting regular starts and regular minutes. Because, like you say, I think similarly to Macaulay Bond for us, he's a proper 18-yard box centre forward who you want sniffing chances. So
was that Macaulay Bond?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know him. I'll have a look. What number does he play?
He's 45, so he'll be the centre forward. I would have thought he was at Charlton and Ipswich a couple of seasons ago in League One. Leighton Orient done really well for them a couple of years ago under Justin Edinburgh when they won the National League.
Oh, got you. Pretty good. The Jamil Matt is another one that we thought was going to do well, but there's not really looked at it since he's been with us. A player we've got on loan is Freddie Draper, who's been leading the line, and he's looked very good, but he's only 19, and I think he's played too many games, and I think perhaps he's tiring a little bit. So it could be time for DJ again.
Oh, because he's one that's come from Ireland, so he's played loads of games before the English.
Yeah, he played for
hasn't he? Yeah.
Drogheda or Drogda, as the Irish would say. So he did well for them there, and then came straight in for us. So he's not had a close season or anything. He's been sort of playing all the way through. So that's a lot of games for a young lad. And I think we're getting to the point now where he's sort of starting to tire a little bit. So maybe it is time for DJ to make his return.
Want to step up, for fingers crossed from your point of view. Obviously, from our point of view, I hope he's absolutely rubbish at the weekend.
Well, I think with all strikers, it's a confidence thing. If you're not going to be happy unless you're playing and scoring.
Oh, of course, absolutely.
And if you're not doing either, he's going to be real grumpy, I would think.
I think so.
But I think we're at a point where it could be we're back in round about 16th, finishing 16th like we were last season or the last few seasons, or it could click and we could start to charge up the league again. I think the most optimistic Walsall fans, and which I'm probably one of them, was I'd probably say we might be able to sneak 7th. But in our recent form, 1-1 drawn, 1 lost, 3 in the last 5. That doesn't sort of indicate a top 7 capability, does it? Yourself, 1-2 drawn, 1 lost, 2 your last 5. But Gillingham, 22 points, 3rd in the league, and 15 points we're on in 17th. So it's not looking great. And you guys definitely go into it being the favourites.
I'd imagine so, based on league table. But obviously, like I say, there's the the caveat would be that we've lost 3 on the bounce away from home, so we've got to sort that out quickly if we want to continue to be in them top positions. I always like the old adage, isn't it? If you win your home games and draw plenty away, then you're going to be there or thereabouts. But if you're always relying on the home form and that drops off, then you're going to start struggling. But at the same time, if we can start winning more away, then we definitely will be there or thereabouts, because the home form's been really good for a long period of time now. So
yeah, and it's always a difficult place to go, isn't it? Your place.
It is. Certainly since the Gallinsons came in the home form. I think we've only lost. Sorry about this. I don't know why my work. Can you hear? Yeah, I think we've won. It's around about 70% of our games since the turn of the year. So Priestfield has become something of a fortress. It's just still inconsistent on the road, unfortunately.
Walsall have never done very well at Gillingham.
I don't think we're great at your place either, which doesn't fill me with loads of confidence.
My mental thing goes back. I've been following Walsall since '81, and generally we lose 3-0 at Gillingham. That's in my head. It's like a 3-0. Anything but a 3-0 defeat's a great result, sort of thing.
Yeah, I think we're similar coming to you. Like I said, last season we came up there and we'd really improved. I think we arrived in March, didn't we? And I don't think you'd won since the start of January, and you comfortably beat us, which was still synonymous with just that inconsistency and the fact that we had a new group at the time. I think we'll be better this season, despite the managerial change. It's only one game, granted, but I've not seen loads of changes or tweaks to how we play under Keith Millen, and that's not going to come in a week. I'd expect it to be a fairly close game, and like I've already said, I think the first goal could be absolutely massive. If we can go there and quieten the crowd and get it, then I'd back us to get something out of the game. And again, like I've already said, a draw wouldn't be a disaster if you're winning the majority of your home games.
Yeah, I think we'd take a draw right now, to be honest, the way things have gone. Keith Millen obviously is in there, sort of caretaker manager. Any idea who's likely to be coming in for you yet?
Absolutely not. I mean, we've seen the bookies lists, which have mysteriously disappeared for some reason. We could only find them on Bet Victor. I think it's a mixture of people out of work. Carl Robinson, the Cowleys. Keith's in there listed, obviously, because he's caretaker manager, but he's come out and said he doesn't want it. Steve Bruce was randomly chucked in there because he played for us about 40 years ago, but that wouldn't be a manager that would excite me. I think if you're going to go down the route of someone that's not managed at League Two, I'd rather go down sort of a young up-and-coming coach, similar to what Ipswich did with Kieran McKenna, similar to what Notts County are doing with Luke Williams. Then you get the random like ex-Premier League superstars that are out of work, like Frank Lampard in there. There's none at the moment that really jump off the page. Not a great idea,
is it? Is it John Eustace? John Eustace just been sacked by Birmingham.
Yeah, and I think Wayne Rooney's just been confirmed as the new manager there, which we all saw coming. But
that's another strange one. Blues were doing well.
Yeah, very strange. He's come in and he's stabilised them, but it seems the owner wants a bigger name, which doesn't always work. I mean, I think Wayne Rooney's a very good coach. He proved that at Derby before he went to America, and I think he'll prove it again. But it just seems very, very harsh on John Eustace from an outsider's perspective. But again, the proof's in the pudding, isn't it? We can only answer the question ultimately when we get to May, when we find out where Birmingham and where Gills finish as well.
Yeah, and I think for Walsall, it was sort of coined as a development season for Walsall. I don't think they're expecting promotion this season.
I had you 12th in my pre-season preview, 12th in the table. I thought that would represent a step up. I thought Danny Johnson, though, would play more regularly than he has, although Freddie Draper's been decent. But like you said, it can still go one or two ways at the moment. We've got plenty of games still to play.
Yeah, and it's whether the American owners at Trevella Group, how patient they are with Sadler, or whether they panic and make a cut. It's one of those, isn't it?
Similar to us, we didn't see it coming, and I think all Gills fans were surprised when the announcement came, regardless of whether we were Harris in, Harris out, or somewhere in the middle. I think the timing of it was very strange, 2 days out from a home game where we've generally been absolutely spot on for a long period of time. But Keith Millen won, and that's the main thing, because regardless of who's the manager, and Neil used to say it all the time, he's just a custodian. The football club will be here long after him and long after us, and we all want our football club to win. And we won Saturday, and we all went home fairly happy, albeit the last 10 minutes were probably more difficult than it should have been. because of the fact that we made some very ultra defensive changes. I think at full time we had a goalkeeper, a striker, 2 right backs, 2 left backs, 3 centre halves, and 2 defensive midfielders on the pitch, and it was some sort of mash up 5-4-1. But Macaulay Bond was left about 50 yards away from everyone. It was ridiculous, to be fair, but we got the job done and we got over the line.
Well, I think if you're ahead, you've got that chance, haven't you? I think when you're trying to pull one back late on, you're always going to get hit, aren't you? Hit on the counters and that sort of thing.
And that was what Neil Harris was very good at. We never lost a game in the league when we scored the first goal under Neil. The only trouble was, and I think this was a big factor in why he got the sack, was we only won 1 league game after conceding the first goal in 20 months. So that was a big issue. Obviously, like I've already said, the goal scoring was an issue. We averaged less than a goal a game over 90 games in all competitions, which is probably not sustainable if you want to be in and around the mix for promotion. I know the top 3 teams that went up last season, Orient, Northampton and Stevenage, weren't massively prolific. I think they all scored around 60, 65, but I think you've got to get to that as a minimum to be in the top 3. You can't go along at scoring 40, 45 goals a season. It's just not going to work.
You don't concede, you're not going to lose, are you?
No, and this is the thing, isn't it? Historically, you remember Alex Ferguson saying all the best teams were built from the back. So if we didn't concede, we weren't losing football matches. But the big concern with us was if we conceded first, we generally wasn't going to win there was proof in that pudding, because it only happened once in the league and I think 2 or 3 times more in cup competitions.
Yeah, it's nice from a supporter's point of view sometimes to see your team come back and win. Walsall have done it on a few occasions. Salford was a typical one. We were absolutely dominated first half at Salford, and then came back to win the match in the second half. So, and again at Bradford, we sort of went behind against Bradford and sort of come back to win. So the character is there, and the ability to come back is there. But as I mentioned earlier on, giving the opposition a goal start in the first quarter of an hour is not really the ideal way to go. What's your as we're about to wrap up? What's your prediction then for the game?
Heart says we might win it by the odd goal, despite the record not being great up there. But Head says 1 each.
1 each. 1 each. I'm going to go for 2-1 Walsall. That's my optimistic head. My negative head is going to keep quiet, I think. Right then, thanks everybody for watching. Thanks for listening. The joy and the pain, we know all about that. Gillingham having lots of joy at the moment. Sort of flying high. Can they maintain it? And can Walsall get back into gear? That's what it's all about. Right then, thanks for watching. Cheers. Thanks for coming on, Matt. Good one.
No problem. Pleasure. Thank you.
Cheers.